All right.
All right. Welcome everyone to another episode of Splitting Smart, where Heather and I get to have candid and informative discussions with divorce and well-being professionals. I'm Lila Aiken Ali, and this is Heather Steer from Split FYI. And today we will be in discussion with Karen Phelps Moyer, a mother of 8, a tireless advocate for kids, families, and communities by supporting them through grief, addiction, suicide prevention, and change. She is also the founder of Good Morning Gorgeous and Elite TLC Dating Support. And today we will have a chat about reimagining love. Thank you, Karen, for joining us today. Please tell us a little about why and how you started TLC Dating Support.
Well, thank you both for having me. I applaud you loudly for what you're doing. This is something that is so hard for people. I created camps for kids. One's a grief camp for children who grieve a loss. The other one is for kids who live with family addiction. And if I created a third camp, it would be for kids who live in divorce. It is definitely a difficult issue, but it can be done. It needs to be done sometimes, and it can be done in a very healthy way. So I applaud you for Split FYI. As I mentioned, I started grief camps for kids, and I took that grief work to a different level in creating Elite TLC Dating Support, which is under my Good Morning Gorgeous company. And I started working with a good friend who was in her late 60s, who was a widow. And in the middle of the night, one night, she had set up her profile and was excited to maybe get out there and date and see what is out there. And then she deleted it by the time she woke up. And I said, oh, no, let's look at this again. And then I sat with her and helped her do her profile, and then really held her hand through the whole process. And it was a good 18 months of us looking at messages, getting her ready for dates. And then she ended up finding a new person for her that she fell in love with, truthfully, and she never imagined that. So I'm a firm believer in that we can all reimagine love, and that's where the gist of Elite TLC Dating Support comes from.
I think it's amazing what you're doing. It is very difficult, particularly when you're in the throes of a divorce, to possibly reimagine love. I think most of the people early on are like, I am absolutely never getting married again. I cannot imagine that. I never want to have, this cycle of grief and process and just going through the entire divorce, craziness. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your insights of timing and, headspace. Obviously, you said you worked with this particular woman. I love that story, for 18 months. And, I think she's probably a good sort of replica of what I've experienced with clients and friends that have also gone through it. It does take, some time to even get your head around it and try some things that didn't fit until you find, kind of the right glass slipper.
Sure. So for me, I started working with widows, and then other populations were reaching out to me, and that would be people who are divorced as one of them. And so it's a journey, all of it. When you're dating, when you get married, and then if it's not going to work and you go through divorce. So timing, just like grief, timing is different for everybody, and everyone grieves differently. You need to recognize that you are grieving the loss of yourself when you're going through a divorce, and of that, obviously, of that relationship that you were in. And it may be the whole family model. And so grief is how I work with people who are divorced. We really have to get to the core of that. And you have to be ready. You have to be ready. And that takes time. You have to get through the divorce. You have to really work on yourself. And then you tell the universe what you want. And I strongly encourage people to say exactly what they want to the universe. because sky is the limit and it does exist. And I believe that we can set our own table if we believe in it and we act it, and then it magnetizes toward us. So back to your question about timing, everybody's different. I think, within a good year of either the separation or the divorce being final, it's time to, explore things that are out there. And certainly we can talk more about that. But as far as timing, you have to make sure that you're ready, because you're not going to be able to receive what you need unless you're ready.
You have to have a clear mind about what you need. And I always say that even to a lot of my clients who are definitely in our community are definitely in a different place. I mean, we work with those who actually have been thinking about divorcing for 5 years prior to actually doing the divorce deed. So they've had those 5 years to sit down and to think about what's not working, what they want, what they desire, what they need. So they're in a little bit more of a pole position to go in to the dating world soon after, maybe, right? The divorce process. I mean, they still go through their other griefs, but they are more ready, in a better position than, say, someone who's been just sideswiped by the fact that, oh my God, I'm just been late divorce papers. I had no idea. And it's like they have to go through their own process. And a lot of times you see that there are people who are really knee-jerkily think that maybe having another person in their lives is a solution. And then they find themselves in a very similar position soon after of being hurt.
Yes, so making sure that you're ready means a lot. There's a checklist for that. And that's something that, you can get professional support, and I strongly encourage that. I think what you guys are doing is excellent. You need outside opinions. Your girlfriend circle certainly changes. And if you're a guy, your guy friends aren't really going to talk about it. A lot of them replace pretty easily. And so you can't even think about what your non-negotiable list would be. And that's the first thing that I have my clients do, is to come up with this list of things that you absolutely cannot tolerate. And we are going to stick to that. And you're not going to sway at all, because trust me, it will come back to haunt you if you just give in to a little bit. And so here's your chance, here's your opportunity. It's so exciting on the other side of it. So you've gotten through all the difficult stuff, and I will never undermine the pain of divorce, ever. I was married 28 years. I'm a mom of 8 kids. And the pain is the most excruciating, deep place we get. And then you're sitting there thinking, date again? Like, how does that happen? If you've been with the person, some since high school, for me, it was my early 20s. And so what does that look like? What's going to be important to me? Where did we fail in our marriage that I can be different in the next relationship? So lots of self-analyzing and looking at your life. And then you have this canvas and you can paint what you want. And you can let the energy bring you the kinds of people that fill you up. And having someone like you guys or myself as a coach that supports you in that, either dating or moving on, is really helpful, because you've never done it before. And it's a journey. And we have experience and expertise now that we can share. While everybody's different, there is some things that are, pretty normal to it. So nothing too fast, ever too fast. There's this whole thing about, when do you introduce your children to dating again? But I think what's great, and I have a client who is in so much pain right now, just can't even imagine herself dating again. And she's 60. And because I'm out there helping matchmake in all different places in the country, I'm like, no, you're going to be fine. There's a lot of good people out there, either in similar situations, have been through similar things. And that's the journey of it. Some relationships are meant to only last so long. And then there's other people that come and can be part of your journey, however long you need it to be, if you're just dating or you're looking for long-term again.
I think so often people do lose faith a little bit in humanity and in the dating world. And in particular, when you go back out onto dating apps and people either ghost you or they are only looking to chat, and they're never willing to commit and actually meet in person. And now we're in the interesting COVID times where that challenge becomes even larger. So it's fascinating, and I love being able to help people have that hope in the future. So, I mean, I love the work that you're doing in this space and how you bring those people along.
Well, thank you. I think that it is important to help people just see things differently. When you're in pain, you're not able to think about much, truthfully. And when we as coaches can bring it back down to simple steps, just this hour and what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to the other side of it, some people get really anxious, and I'm not a huge fan of the swiping apps. I'm a bigger fan of the apps where you're paying because other people are paying. I'm a big fan of matchmaking companies because those are people, you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And the swiping apps, it's, there is success, don't get me wrong, but I think the overall percentage of the ghosting that you speak of, and so if we're building our self-esteem and self-confidence, and yeah, you're getting likes, and then you get some dates, and then they're not calling you, most people go back into their hole, and it's awful to witness. And it makes me so angry because that's not the solution of how things have to be. Relationships take time, they take effort. It takes mindfulness on both parts. It takes compromise and compassion for each other. And when you're older in dating, mm-hmm. How many old dogs are you going to teach new tricks to? So you have to learn to compromise. But I also think you're able to change people and make people even better versions of themselves from what they were from before.
Right. Well, I mean, it's definitely a learning curve. And I think that actually going to the point of the dating app, I love what you just said, because so many people out there always say, well, I wonder what's the best app. I wonder, everybody has their insights of what is good and what's not. But it really does depend. It goes back to what you just said, like, what are your non-negotiables and what is it you're looking for? Now, if you're just looking for a little bit of love and satisfaction and some fun, then great, swipe left, swipe right, whatever it is. Yeah. But if it is that you're really looking for somebody to fulfill you and be a partner and be your friend and your lover and whatever, then it's like, then you've got to put that work in. And I always believe that if there's a transaction, and you're paying for something that is more honed into what you want, then you're more likely to put in that time and that effort. And so if you're met with that from the other end, and going back to not just apps, and this is an interesting story, that my sister-in-law, I knew her before she met my brother, and she wrote to all her friends the kind of man she wants to meet and marry. Okay, she wrote an email. It was like a blank slate email to all her good friends. And I got that, and it was so interesting. Now, my brother at the time was engaged to someone else living in another country. And I got the email, and my first instinct was, God, she's describing my brother. No joke. It was so interesting. And then I think 6 months later down the line, she came to one of my parties. My brother happened to be there, and I said, "Oh, you two should talk." And my brother was not engaged anymore. She was free, and it just was like magic for them. Yeah. How crazy is that? Now, but what's interesting is that her putting it out there, it was like and that's what she said. She put a stamp on it. She's like, "I'm tired of dating all these guys that were going around in circles." She was working in finance at the time with a lot of financial people around her. She's like, "I'm just, and she really put pen to paper, so to speak, what she wanted. And she put it out there. And right? So, but it is very similar. It's a great story. And they're happily married and amazing today. And listen, they've got their issues. They've worked through them. But their mindsets are very similar. Yeah. Because of that. Mm-hmm. And so, it goes back to what you're putting out there, what you're putting on your dating site, what you're writing about yourself, what you're saying that you want, going to your non-negotiable, like that is fantastic. Like you do that first, not almost before what you want. It's like what you don't want. You know that you're not going to steer away from
what you want, and it's okay. You don't have to justify it. It doesn't, if you need a man who has money and needs to take care of you, that's okay to put that out there.
Right.
But I also, It's so much deeper than that in some ways when you're going for the next relationship, because there's so many things that can make it complicated. You know, children, your family, just the stigma around divorce if you're, you know, faithful and Christian, going to church, you know, all of these things, all of a sudden you're different and you have to learn how to deal with that, sit with that, and have inner peace with that before it can come from you that you're ready to receive. So you can date and think that you're fulfilling, you know, your needs, whether, you know, it's sexually or just to have somebody with you, or, but that deep relationship that we speak of, that's really special. And that is when the timing is important, and that is worth waiting for. And so what we have to do is empower each other, men and women, that you don't have to settle. You don't have to fill the void that, you know, you think you need, that you can stand alone. And so the empowerment that I can give back for what I do for a living is the greatest gift. It's like when my kids come to my camp and they're so sad, and my heart is so sad for them. But I know by Sunday they're going to be better for it because they're getting tools on how to deal with it and such. Same with, you know, this 60-year-old woman that I have right now that's in so much pain. We have to learn when to celebrate just the little things every day. And so she's learning that. She's learning self-care. We're learning that thoughts, you know, thoughts aren't real. They're just there, and then they become feelings, and then it turns into this mind cluster of, you know, and nighttime is hard and we feel like a failure. And instead, we're empowering you. It's okay to reimagine love. It's okay to have days that are difficult, but through what you guys are doing and what I do, we certainly can empower people. If it's for the next relationship or just living on and living well, that's why we're here. And I love that.
I agree. I mean, I love everything that you've just said, because I think that in order to really find that peace in a new love, you really do have to find peace within yourself. And that's the basic bottom line, a piece of where you're at, why you're there. No blaming, no worry about what other people think. It's about you. It's about getting secure enough that whoever comes into your life, you're letting them in a way that's, you're ready for it. And I say that often, sometimes people get, you know, I know quite a few people who've missed that opportunity when they found somebody else because they weren't ready to accept it. And that's what's really, you know, so when they're not ready to.
So this is what I love, what I do in the process. So someone is thinking about dating again and they're struggling. It can be, for me, it's widows, divorce, long-term breakup, domestic violence victims, and people who have lived with an illness for a long time and they're ready to date again finally. Looking in the mirror saying, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. So what we do is we sit down and we we create a profile. And just the process of creating a profile and answering all the questions that come from the .com that we choose,
right,
really forces you to self-evaluate.
Yeah.
So I see the growth in my client from that moment before we start until after, and we have the profile. And then we are able to be able to look at then who we're matched to. And then what I do is I vet through the matches for you, because where's your energy going through all of this? This is my other big thing.
Right.
Where we put our energy in aging, and certainly in, you know, stressful situations like going through a divorce, and how do we look at our life now? And where's your energy? If you're still thinking back on how it could have been better, you're never going to be able to move forward. If you are using energy worrying about what other people are thinking because you're putting yourself out there dating again, it's never going to work. You have to resolve to these things that are holding you back. And where is your energy going? So for me, I get the matches and I vet through them because I know some of your non-negotiables.
Right.
A lot of times it's, I need a guy who's 6 foot or taller. So that's easy to just delete a bunch of them, clean that out. And then we look at them together, and then we decide how to start messaging. And messaging, if you've been with a guy forever, you don't know how to, flirt or message with somebody, and what's appropriate, and how people's messages back to you. Like, it's gotten bad where you can tell where the guy's intentions are or the girl's intentions are. It's just like, okay, I'm not sure. She says long-term, but I'm not sure I'm feeling that for you.
Right.
So listening to your instincts and trusting mine in the matchmaking part of the world, and then gaining the confidence where you can see the matches, and then so this evolution of this person that comes to me and seeing their own personal growth, no matter what. If we don't find the next Mr. or Mrs. Right person for you, right, you have grown, you are a better version of yourself, and you are ready for anything. So just the investment you make in yourself to work with you guys or to work with me, there's no value to it, because it's something that actually I feel like money can't pay. It's so weird to come up with these, packages for these people, because everybody's different.
Right.
And, we're very accessible, and there's times when it's hard, but you're growing up again, and you're blooming like you're supposed to. And you have this opportunity to get outside resources to support you in something that's important to you. Absolutely do it. Make it work.
Yeah, I think the empowering and the shoring up of someone and giving them that confidence. I see so many times people going out and settling in too quickly. Like, I think I probably did that early in my dating world. I would tend to not want to hurt someone's feelings, even though I was like, oh, this one's not the right one. And I probably went out with them a couple extra times, and I shouldn't have kind of quote unquote wasted my time. And then teaching them what I always call it, what bait to fish with. I think figuring out what message do you want to convey, and making sure that you're attracting what it is that you're also looking for. I have a friend that tends to put out very provocative pictures, and what she gets back, and then she's like, I'm a soccer mom. I want to be, that's what I want. And I'm like, well, you're putting this bait out there, and this is what, you're attracting. And so, I think your services of coaching and empowering and strengthening and giving the confidence also to go after what it is that you want and you deserve.
And being accountability partner too, because like what we were saying, it's really easy to send off mixed messages, because let's face it, as human beings, we're so contradictory in so many ways of what we're doing. And often we instinctively do things that we think somebody wants, but yet it's not really about what we want, right? So i.e. maybe dress provocative because we know men like that, but actually the kind of man that is attracted to that is probably the man we don't want. So it's a very confusing whirlwind. So to have someone who helps steer you and keep you in that direction, that where you're heading, and that focus of you want that. You said you don't want this, and you say you want that. So let's stay focused.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think it's also a chance to look at what you were with in the first place and why that didn't work out. And it's okay to reflect on that and own that. And we grow and develop and improve daily. So you don't have to answer well, if we had done this or whatever. It is what it is. And now how do we learn and grow from that and receive what we deserve? I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you live. I don't care male or female. Everybody deserves this. And I will forever encourage people to reimagine love. If you've lost a loved one, no matter how you've lost a loved one, you've got to grieve that and get to that place of feeling comfortable and confident. And then the sky's the limit, and you can be happy, and finding the partner that complements you. I think it's almost easier as you get older than it was when we were in our 20s, because there's no way we know what we want at that point in our life. And so now to kind of rewrite that and say, okay, I have, 30, 40 more years left in my life, and this is what I want to be doing, and this is the kind of person I want to be with. So, like I said, there's lots of things that make it very complicated with children and family and such. But what I feel like one of my strengths is really getting the person to look at themselves and let's just keep going on this straight road. And then as things come, then we deal with it. The anxiety and the energy that it takes to worry about all that, we're never going to get anywhere. So I think you become better professionally. I think you become a better friend. I think you probably become a better parent. This is a restart button. And I love what you guys are doing because you're using experience and applying and sharing wisdom with others. So it's brilliant. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think our, Heather and I had discussed this many times that her and I already have two different modalities of coaching. I mean, she's a CDFA, I'm a coach, and, we all have our different strong points, and we can't be all knowing. We can help, but we can't be all knowing. I think it's really important for our community, especially we wanted to create, they could have access to people, i.e. you and other people, they can listen and be inspired and connect with people they wouldn't normally be able to connect with. And it really does take a village to go through something like grief and loss. And I mean, you might not need them forever, but you need them for a certain amount of time. Not everybody is ready to reimagine love. They have to go through certain things and understand their divorce and understand their finances. And, they have to pick that, they find their right time. And when they're acceptable and susceptible to it is when they start listening, they start hearing. And so having them just even listen to this, I'm hoping that's planting a seed. It's creating hope. It's creating hope. It is really knowing that there is another love out there. It's not the end of the world. and they have this opportunity to do it a different way, the right way. So finding that.
Yeah, and I think that you don't have to keep apologizing to yourself if, the first one didn't work out or the second one didn't work out. It's just really looking at life as a journey. And we're going to have people that come and go in our lives, and recognizing that it's okay when things aren't okay, and how we're dealing with things when they're not okay, and owning that. Owning the good and the bad, and then being able to have this amazing energy to put out there that this is what I want, and it will come to you. I've seen it happen. It's magical. And so truly believing in yourself and the professionals that you have around you that can probably save some time for you, to be honest, from making mistakes. But being able to reimagine and then live it. Like, it's fun to reimagine, and then to be living it's a whole nother story, and a way that you can live life and be so fulfilled. And in our life right now, when things are so difficult through COVID, people are dating. Apps are the highest percentages they've ever been. And maybe what's happening is that people are taking it a little more seriously. Right. People are taking that person more seriously and being present with that person. There aren't distractions because they're having Zoom dates, and then, they'll meet and they have to be conscious about being apart, and, when you bring family in and all of that. So we're more conscious of it. We needed to slow down a little bit. It was getting crazy on all kinds of things. But for dating and moving on, I think we're in a good place, and I think it's very exciting for people.
Yeah, it's less instant gratification. It's more putting in the time, and it's so true. It really is. You getting to know the person and the personality before it's too late.
I have a question. Do you continue? So once kind of someone finds someone and they're pursuing, like, dating them, do you continue to support them as they're sort of analyzing what the relationship is going, how it's happening?
For sure. So my first client that I spoke of, she did find a person, and they were together for about a year, and she's 61 now. And then I could see the relationship, and she would share things with me, and I could see that it wasn't fulfilling what she thought in the beginning, but what it did was it got her through to get out there and date. And then it got a little crazy for her, because then she was like setting up all kinds of dates in COVID. And I was just like, wait, slow down. And so then from that relationship, she's a widow. So from that first love out, the next ones became more clear for her in what she needed.
Right.
And so, yes, I do stay. I'm a big fan of that. We do that with our camps for ongoing support. I'm always accessible. And I think that that's important. I think there's those times when you're like, oh, should I be doing this? Shouldn't I be doing this? And everybody goes in these like, I'm done, I'm not going to date, times when things go bad and things take a lot of work and a lot of energy. And people in their own timing usually come back and are excited to work on it again. Some people think that they don't need me, that they can just, they have other resources. And I have a client just in the past week that I spoke to a couple months ago that came back to me and just like, I don't think I can do this without you. And for me, that's so fulfilling, because I was being very authentic to her from the very beginning. And she has to be ready to receive what I can tell her, because I'm going to be honest. And some things are going to be hard to hear. And I really work on the mind and how we think. And in fact, I'm getting a certificate right now to be a thought coach, not a life coach, but a thought coach. It's like this new wave of things and how we're thinking. And COVID has certainly driven us to this. So I'm excited about it. And to be able to share to people mindfulness and self-care, first and foremost, look, I never did that till I was divorced and, in my 50s. Yeah, I may have gotten a massage, but it wasn't like what we need for our souls and the mindfulness of our bodies, right? And breathing through things. So these are skills that maybe help us live longer, and certainly be a better person. So I think for some people, the ongoing care actually becomes an even shinier moment for you. If that one relationship fails, they're not all successful and they don't all last forever. And the sustainability of relationships, if that's a pattern, then we have to be looking at other things. And as you guys know, I just work on the relationship. You work on all the other facts of, how do you get through divorce and move on and be, a big person without that significant other. So, together, I think we're helping people through the journey that I never had this. I never thought like this. And I've just taken life's experience, and in particular for me, the grief work and mindfulness, and share that with others. And now I'm, trying to make a living with it. So I love being with you guys and partnering with you. I'm here for a long time, and hope to be back on with you again soon.
For sure.
We're so excited to bring you as a resource to our community. And I just think it's amazing. You and I have spoken together before, and I love your energy in person. So anyone who can actually, when we can, meet her in person, she's amazing.
Yeah, positivity. In fact, we will put it in our notes anyway, but please share what's the best way for our community to get in touch with you directly. Should they need some?
It would be go to my website, which is the best name, I think, on the planet, and that's Good Morning Gorgeous. And goodmorninggorgeous.com is a place where I have a few of my things that I'm doing, and one of them is elite TLC dating support. And then you click on there and there's a questionnaire, and then we're connected and you're in my system, and we go from there. Right. So it's good times and fun, and it's a nice distraction. And like I said, reimagining love, no matter what you've been through, and people have had tragic, horrific things happen to them, you are owed that in life. And there are loving people that are supporting you through that. So that's why we're all here.
That's exactly it. I love that.
I do too. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Karen.
My pleasure.
We'll definitely be having another chat for sure. And thank you so much, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.